What does that mean? Some people find value in money. See, this is $10,000 right here. Okay, for some people, this may not worth anything. In some countries, it may not even be the 10,000 that is written on there. So we're going to talk about value. See, my board is a little bit sketchy. It's all over the place. It looks messy. But the purpose of that is to demonstrate something to you that I think most people do not understand, especially when we talk about value. Most people don't understand that value is really an exchange. But how do we experience this value? I've said it. It really is not just about the exchange. It really is about the experience that the receiver gets. A few things that I want to bring your attention to. When we talk about value, a value can be something that you experience personally, professionally, in business, or relational. In business, value is passed along through the exchange of goods and service. Value is passed along through the exchange of goods and service. What do you mean by that, Andrew? Very simple. In a business concept, value is a shared outcome. It is a shared outcome because the seller can only provide a price to the commodity and or the service that's being offered. That's it. You've heard the term before, well, Andrew, I want to add more value. How can I add more value to that person? Well, I'm going to go out on a limb and say you cannot add value to a person. That person has to realize the value that they have for themselves. In other words, you don't add value to something, you extract. So value is an extraction based on a goods and or service or product. For example, I have this book. It's called the Work Mindset Journal. Brand new, just came out. If you're like a free copy of it, I'm going to put the link in the description and you can get a free copy of this book sent to you. All you have to do is cover the shipping and handling. You get that book free for yourself. All right. What's great about this book? It's not your typical journals, over 100 pages in this, and you can see it's all color. There are prompts that are written. There are detailed information that's inside this book, and the purpose of this is to help you to find your pathway to personal success. All right, so let's jump into this value thing. I want you to get a few things from here before we leave. When we talk about value, we're really saying it's an exchange, experience, perspective, and it also talks about the big payoff. Value, it's about the exchange, experience, perception of the payoff. Now, here is where most people go wrong. Most people get tripped up when they try to add value. I can't add more value to this book than the content that's already in there. What you will notice is when the person interacts with the book, when a person interacts with your product, when the person interacts with your service, they extract that value based on the experience that they have. That experience can change a circumstance. That experience can satisfy a desire. That experience can evoke memory of the past, and it can inspire someone to do something about the future. It can change the future. So what I want you to understand is that experience is a result that when somebody interact with your goods and or service, it changes the outcome. A lot of people says, Andrew, well, I want to add a value to a particular product that I am creating. Now, how can you do that? The best thing you can do is to make sure that this product and or service has a payoff. Here it is. The payoff is the transformation that this individual experienced. The payoff is the transformation that this person experienced when they interact with your product. Let's say, for example, you're in business. There's an exchange that happened between your goods and or your service. Now, when that exchange happened, it can only happen if the person is willing. If the person is willing to pay for that experience, then the exchange will happen. It is within the exchange that the person have this grand experience. Is it a grand experience that changes their life, or is it an experience that causes them to say, I want to return for continual service or repeated service? I want you to understand that. Let's take, for example, a person who makes a cake. The person makes the cake and they put it in a store, or you get it from Walmart or whatever chain store that you go to. You get that cake, and when you eat that cake, just before you bite into that cake, imagine the baker comes up to you and says, let me add some more value to that. Doesn't that sound a little odd? I want to add some more value to the cake just before you bite it. You can't. The cake is already made. The value is experienced when the person partake of the cake. Not only when they partake of the cake, but when the person partake of the cake, they will want to follow up. They may say, wow, I want to find out what are some of the ingredients that you put inside this cake that made it taste so good. What are some of the ingredients that you put in this cake? You know what it does? It literally brought me back to a time when I've had this cake in the past. Now, a perfect example of this is the movie Ratatouille. I love that movie because when Ego bit into the ratatouille, a few things happened. He literally went back to the doorsteps of his mother as a little boy when the mother called him to get that ratatouille. So a lot of times that experience that you have will cause you to have a flashback about the past, or it will help you to experience a better present, or it will also help you to prepare for a better future. So when we talk about value, value is your perspective of the exchange between goods and service. I'll say it again. Value is your perspective of the experience between goods and service when the exchange has happened. The exchange can only happen if the buyer decided that they're going to pay for that experience. A person can put any price on a product. They can put $10,000 on the product. All of these $100 bills. They can give you $10,000 worth of goods and service. But your experience, your perception of that could say, well, that's only worth $500. That's only worth $100. Or the reverse can happen. They would have put $100 worth of goods and service. I could sell you this book on Amazon for $29.99. But when you go through the workbook inside here and the content in here, you would have gotten probably $1 million worth of value because this book has transformed your life. So when we talk about value, value is an experience based on exchange that the buyer is willing to pay to experience that interaction. It's an exchange. I am giving you something and you are paying me for it. A lot of times, an exchange doesn't have to be monetary. A person doesn't have to give you money for an exchange. A person can get the commodity from you or the service and they say, you know what? I am going to pay you back with time. Like I will volunteer at your business, or I will come and I will sit down and have a conversation with you. I want to have the conversation with you. Then that is me spending time with you. Because while the money will come and go, the time is priceless. And a lot of time people use money to buy time. But time has no price on it. You cannot pay for this. It's the same thing like value. Value is intangible. Value is intangible. And the reason why value is intangible is because it could mean one thing for a next person and it could mean something for another person. Value is an intangible experience that is exchanged in goods and service. So, what I want you to take away from this is that stop telling people that you are going to add value to them. Stop telling people that you are going to add value to a product. Stop telling people that you're going to add value to a service. What you can do is encourage them to give you feedback. And I don't, many people would say, well, constructive criticism. There's no such thing as constructive criticism. Once you hear the word critique, critique means to take apart. Critique means to critique. It means to analyze from a deep or in-depth perspective. And when you do that, well, you're looking for faults. You're looking for how we can improve something. We're looking for how this particular thing and or experience could have been better. So when somebody says I'm going to give you positive criticism, no, say I would rather you give me feedback. All right? Because feedback is giving you information so you can make a change or a transformation or improvement on the product and or service. Speaking of product and or service, I want to give a big shout out to Excel to Wellness. That is Excel, the number 2 Wellness, for sending me out this hoodie. It says, I can, I will, I'm doing it. Thank you, Excel to Wellness. Also for the caps, we have a bunch of caps that are out, some red ones, some white ones. Go to Excel, the number 2 wellness.com. Excel, the number 2 wellness.com. Check them out. They have a whole bunch of great things out there. You talk about positive reinforcement, positive influence in your gear. Go check them out. Excel to wellness.com. All right, let's get back to it. Value. Value is not added to something. You may add ingredients to something, but you cannot add value to a thing. What you can add to a thing is time. What you can add to a thing is more effort. But is more time and more effort increase the value of something? It may not be. Here is why. Because sometimes a person may want your product and or service because it's convenient. A person may want your product and or service because it's a necessity. A person may want your product and or service because it saves them time. A person may want your product and or service because it provides an ease. It's easy for them to get it. It's easy for them to interact with it. It's easy for them to access it. Right? And so when we talk about this value, we are looking at how easy it is for us to extract. I can send you this book and it's worth $100, but you will go through this book and by the time you finish, your life is transformed. So what does that simply mean? I will say it again. The seller can only add a price. It is up to the receiver to decide the value. Okay, so when you give someone something, the best thing you can do is say, hey, can you give me a feedback? Let me know how, was your experience? How did you enjoy that product and or service? And also, you can also ask, how can I make it better? The reason why you ask that question is not so you can add more value. It's so you can enhance the experience. And if you enhance the experience, and here's what's going to happen, there's going to be an increase in the exchange. If there's an increase in the exchange, then the buyer is telling the seller that the value that they have extrapolated from the products, good and or service, has increased. Everybody understand that? Okay. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment. inside the comment box, and I will make sure that I respond to them. If this live has helped you in any way, I want you to be able to change your perspective on what true value is all about. True value is a myth when they say, I'm going to add value. You can only add a greater experience. And when you have a greater experience, then you have increased exchange. And increased exchange is an indication that the value has improved. The value, the customer and or the client sees a greater value in the product and or service that they have gotten from you. Lastly, remember, when we talk about value, we talk about exchange, we talk about experience, we talk about perspective, and the number one thing between perspective, experience, exchange, it's all about the payoff. The payoff is the deciding factor. The payoff, for example, did it save the buyer or the consumer time? Did it create convenience? Is it easy for them to access it? And did it meet a need? If you can do that in that one experience, because of that exchange, your client will see value in that. My name is Andrew E. Guy. If you're interested in working with me, I want you to go over to andrewguyspeaks.com. Click on the contact us. If you have an event that you'd like Andrew to speak at, please feel free to go over to andrewguyspeaks.com/contact us, or just andrewguyspeaks.com, and you follow the information on the page and reach out. And one of our members will get back to you and get your information so we can connect and be at your next event. All right? Remember, I'm excited about you understanding your true value. The next part we're going to talk about is your personal value. Your personal value and how it impacts your understanding, your perception of who you are as an individual in the world. All right? Until next time, I'll see you again. Feel free to leave a comment. Reach out. If you need to get a copy of this book, I'm going to put the link in the description so you can get a free copy of this book. All you have to do is pay for the shipping and handling. It just dropped. It just came off the press. It's the Work Mindset Journal. You want to pick up a copy of this. This is going to transform your mindset and how you see yourself. So go ahead, and I'm going to put the link in the description. Get a copy of this book. You get it for free. All you have to do is pay shipping and handling, and you get that sent directly to that address that you put when you fill out your information. Until next